Okay.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hi, Chandramoulika. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see you.
Same here,
Good
sir.
afternoon to all. I welcome you all to the Gyanalok Saturday lecture series. This is the 15th lecture of Gyanalok Saturday lecture series of second series, and I welcome all the participants and especially our speaker, my teacher, Dr. Simanchalla Ranjit sir, who will be delivering on social policy and legislation in India, role of social work practitioners. Just now I was saying it is very important, and our students, some of our students are going to appear examination in this month, and they have their paper social policy and welfare administration. In that context, it is very crucial for them to attend this session. And for the participant, once again I am repeating, this lecture series is basically focusing on the social issues of India, and being a social work practitioner or development practitioner, how to address the issue and how to tackle the issue. That is the sole purpose of this lecture series, for which we are inviting eminent speakers from different part of India and outside of India also, who are delivering on different issues. And today with us, Dr. Simanchalla Ranjit sir. And I request my friend Ms. R. Chandramoulika to introduce our lecture and speaker and continue the session. Over to you, Moulika.
Thank you, Pradeep. A very good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this 15th lecture of Gyanalok Saturday lecture series on social development issues and role of development professionals, which is jointly organized by Gyanalok Trust and Department of Social Work, Directorate of Distance and Continuing Education, Utkal University, Odisha. Today's lecture, as introduced, is on social policy and legislation in India, role of social work practitioners. And to deliver this session, we have with us Dr. Simanchalla Ranjit sir. Dr. Simanchalla Ranjit has over 20 years of professional experience, which is a perfect blend of a social work practitioner, of a social work teacher, as well as a lawyer. Currently, he is an advocate in the Honorable High Court of Odisha, and previously he was vice principal of National Institute of National Social Work and Social Sciences, that is NISWAS earlier. As a social work practitioner, he owns a diverse portfolio of work, which includes working for Department of School and Mass Education, Government of Odisha, and for British Council, New Delhi, as a monitoring and evaluation officer and evaluation specialist. For UNDP as a trainer for employees for rehabilitation and settlement program, for World Vision India as a program manager based in the state of Bihar, among others. From there on, he ventured into social work teaching in various reputed colleges of Odisha, and his areas of specialization as teacher are social work philosophy, social policy, social legislations, development of weaker sections, and social work administration. Currently, he is an advocate and deals with varied branches of jurisprudence in the court of law. His interests include both civil and criminal laws, and his special areas of practice are the constitutional law, family laws, service matters, revenue laws, special laws such as NDPS, POCSO, JJ Act, FCRA, and laws relating to NGOs. He is also an active contributor to the right-based activism in Odisha and in the field of human rights and right to information. On behalf of Gyanalok Trust, Department of Social Work, DDCE, Utkal University, and all the participants present in today's lecture, sir, I welcome you to this lecture series. Thanks a lot for your agreement on this. Eagerly looking forward, and want to highlight to everyone that Simanchalla sir has also been my teacher, and I'm really looking forward to this session, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Unless I am audible, I can go ahead with this. So thank you very much, Dr. Pradeep Sahu, for this invitation, and Ms. Chandramoulika for your nice introduction. and also for this opportunity to the team of Gyanalok Trust and then the DDC to have me here and then come back to my early days of sharing with you all in the classroom and how you are doing those things. It becomes quite difficult to be a teacher at the moment because we in the Court of Law.
With your permission, can you say? Can I say just one or two lines? With your permission.
Please go ahead.
Dr. Simanchalla Ranjit is the legal advisor of Gyanalok. It is a privilege for all of us, sir. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was missing.
Yes, yes.
So that I was saying that it's it was a very tough job to be a teacher when you are in the classroom setting, when you have the learners or the students having competent informations, and then when you argue in the court of law with a particular case, and coming back again to the previous practice of social work in the form of social work teaching in the school, in the colleges. And now to again going back to this, in fact, 2011 onwards, I think your batch was my last full-fledged teaching in 2011. Thereafter, I left for your South Campus to develop the one campus where I had to leave my teaching and was completely with the fieldwork activities. And again, 2012 to 14, when your masters at that time, partially I had to take all the classes. And 2014 onwards, somehow I take the classes. Well, this is what the social work teaching is all about now. Of course, in the Court of Law and different NGOs, whatever the experience little I have, I would be sharing with your audience. And less of my presentation will be few slides I will be putting it, and I will be expecting more discussion from the audience and have questions to, in fact, not respond, reply to that, but I'll make a discussion of each one of your any queries or questions or discussion points. So now let me come back to my originality that, of course, I'm an advocate now, but my my starting or my identity, I'd like to be a social worker or a professional social worker. So therefore, I'd like to start with since three things I have to discuss here with you is policy, legislation, and work. That is social policies, social legislation, and social work. Social is the common factor here, common thing we need to understand what it's all about. And of course, the policy, legislation, and work. These are very interesting things. My focus will be to, if the students are participants here, I will be encouraging you to make your areas to concentrate on social legislation, social policies, how you can make a fine social worker practicing in the field of social policy and social legislation. Also, my another interest area to share with you all is that you will be feeling proud of, if you are a student social worker, how nice this profession is, how beautiful, how noble this profession is. But unfortunately, I'm also admitting that this profession has got almost no identity in India, which is a challenge, a challenging thing for all of us, those who are in the field of social work profession. Now, with this, I'd like to enter into this topic of understanding what is social policy, social legislation, and what will be the role of social worker or social work practitioners in formulation of social policy and providing legal assistance. As well, when we call about social legislation, the role of social worker will be definitely providing legal assistance to the needy, especially from the weaker sections. Now, let me start quoting the definition of social work in 2000. That you know that International Federation of Social Workers and International Association of Schools of Social Work, what did they say about social work? They said this is social work is a profession. They said it's a profession. And what does it do? It promotes social change. They said it, that social work promotes social change. And also it solves the problem. And which problem it solves? It solves the problem in human relationship. In human relationship, what is the problem in human relationship? When we talk about human relationship, it speaks about your economic, your social, your health, your education, your relational problem in the family problem, disputes between husband and wife, children, delinquency, all the crime, criminal, everything. That is called the social human relationship. That means social work has to work with this work for problem solving. That's what I always used to talk in the classroom, that what's the difference between sociology and social work. My basic understanding, common understanding is sociology is about studying, diagnosing a problem, but social work is solving the problem. So these things, when we talk about rightly, the International Federation of Social Workers, these associations, they defined it. It's a problem solving in human relationship. It's a problem solving profession. Also, it does what in 2000 they said, it empowerment and liberation of people. It's a very, very big word that when we talk about social worker professional in, working in the field or in any setting, maybe a group setting with the individual, with a community setting.
Your screen is not visible.
Sorry?
Your screen is not visible. PPT is not visible. Can you
make your presentation? I don't have that.
Oh, I shall make it. Okay, no problem, sir.
Please do it. It's slide number 1 only. Or slide number 2 could be. Please do it for me. Thank you. So, will you do it or should I continue? I think I should continue. They'll listen it better. Social work, all the students and all the practitioners, they know it. But just I want to introduce in my way of understanding social work in relation to social legislation and social policy. So it's about liberation of people. Liberation of people means the bondages that people are in, the caste prejudices, patriarchal social order, domination, economic ones, poverty, prejudices, all these sufferings that social work has to do to liberate these people from these bondages. It's not about money. That is what last discussions we were discussing. We had a analysis about it, that how we narrowly understand social work profession, and then sometimes in the organizations where when we get an employment, that time what we do, we are not able to write, we are not able to make program proposal, not able to make presentations, not able to speak English, not able to write sentences. No, my friends, this is beyond that. Social work profession is not about making project proposals or giving training programs. These are all part. This is a liberating profession. I mean, social work has to be engaged in such a level where you talk about liberating people, liberating humanity. I mean, bringing a very macro level activities and changing the grassroots level situation. So that is what the definition. This is not my definition. This is the definition of the international schools. I mean, Federation of Social Workers. And then what they say, you have to use the theories of human behavior. The theories of human behavior and social system. That means psychology, and then different Marxist theory, the development theories, and social sciences, anthropology, social sciences, sociology, psychology, all these things, the theories have to be utilized. And then social worker has to intervene. The social worker has to intervene. That means there is something is happening there. Social worker should not be standing in the fence and sitting, looking at that something is happening and dictating somebody to do that, but the social worker has to intervene there. Go there, look at that, try to solve the problem, following the principles of social work. So intervention at the point where people interact, where we are doing. It's not about the program implementation, my friends. Social work is about points where people interact with their environments. That is what the International Federation of Social Workers are talking about. So it's not about project implementation, or it is not about program management. It is about intervention at the points where people interact with their environments. So that means a social worker is a social leader. He is an enabler, worker, advocate, so many roles at the same time he has to play in association with other clerical staff or other, managers, other writers, or proposal writers, or trainers, everybody. But social work is a leadership profession. It is not a managerial profession. More for my understanding, social worker has to play at the leadership level where social problems are being analyzed, discussed, diagnosed, and problems are resolved. At the time, the social worker plays at the role of a leader at the leadership level. In any organization, if you are working, there are different levels of your functioning in the organizations. Like at the leadership level, your goal level, objective level, your outcome level, output level, activities level, the coordinators, the grassroots workers, the activity level. But social worker, when the social worker becomes a professional social worker, experienced person, works at the leadership level and provides very much social leadership in the setting or in the agency. The social work philosophy says that social work can be practiced only through the agency. That's the philosophy of social work that we understand. So when the agency setting a social worker is working, then he has to or she has to be clear this is what his role is all about. He has to work for the change, social change, problem solving, dealing with human relationship, empowerment, liberation of people. It's not about just organizing training. These are the activities level. So this is what I want to bring a role clarity to myself about what I understand about social work is. And then, of course, I will go to what 2014 they said. Actually, they changed their understanding of social work in 2014, whereby I'm not going to detailedly read about it, but just a basic difference between 2000 definition of social work by International Association of Federation of Social Workers and 2014. What did they say? What they said social work engages. I repeat, in 2000, the definition, they said that it intervenes, but in 2014, it was changed into engages. A very big difference of understanding of social work. From social work becoming interventionistic profession to engaging profession. That means nothing from the top, nothing from any expert, nothing from any person who knows everything, but it is all about people. People are the center, and social work only has to engage with them, to work with them, to understand them, to help them out. That they solve their problem. But this is the understanding has completely changed. I don't know how the social work education is given in our country, whether we are able to focus it. And in global definition of social work 2014, they said that this definition can be amplified at the national level and regional levels. So therefore, great opportunity was given to them. I mean, given to the countries that they can amplify it and utilize according to the need of the nation or understanding of the country. So therefore, social work, now basic thing, I'll straightway go to the topic. Just to understand this is, social work is a noble profession. It's a helping profession. It has got its own ethics. It has got its own philosophy. It should not be diluted with any managerial profession. For my understanding, social work is a leadership profession. A leader leads, a manager manages. So MBA, whatever the managerial profession, they may be smart, they may be writing and speaking and presenting. These are not part of social work. Social work is promoting social change. And you hire the managers to write it. You have one critical thinking ideas I will be sharing with you. What the knowledge, what the expertise, how the problem could be critically understood, only a social worker can know better than any social managers. That has to be completely, that has to be 100% accepted by each and every social work practitioner, also social work students or social work trainees. With this, I would like to go to the topic that I said to you, that today's understanding is all about the policy, the legislation. Of course, the factor is social. what we vaguely understand social. Social is about society. Society, when Max Weber said that it's a web of relationship. In the society, if we have to live, then we have to relate with others. And society is very much necessary to each one of us, a human being. Who said, I think Aristotle said, man is a social animal who lives without society, either beast or god. That means society is very much necessary, and a society is the place where everything is possible for human being to live peacefully. Now, when we talk social, then definitely we call it, we are belong to a particular community. A village is a society. A neighborhood is becoming a society these days. When the urban areas, you make a colony, and then you have society there. They register as a society and make their own rules, regulations, and function them. Many of us are living in a society, I mean the urban neighborhood society. So what do we say when we, you will agree with me that when we say social, everything you say, social justice, social work, social policy, social legislation, when you add social security, social service, when you add social means, it is always downtrodden. Always it is referring to something weaker. With some social, when we say, it always it will be meaning that something inferior. That means a community, a group of people, those who need special attention. So therefore the social is always added. That means the social question, when we put about any health, education, infrastructure, so and so forth, always we mean that this is a distributive aim. What is distributive? Distributive means national treasure. We have the Rajkosha, or we have national wealth, or the resources that has to be redistributed to the, or distributed among the people in different category through different policies, different program, schemes, and budgeting. All those things are happening. So therefore, social, when we say it always also refers to social inequality. And inequality may be on the basis of, class, rich, poor, so and so, on the basis of caste, upper caste, lower caste, backward caste, so many castes we know in the Indian reality, and on the basis of your masculinity, femininity, gender inequality, we call it, or patriarchal social order with patriarchy, what is the male domination or male superiority. These are the things when we talk about social, and we understand this is the meaning. And then this, when we talk about this social and social inequality, that becomes the causative factor for social policy. It's a failure of economic policy, or some authors say, but I agree with that. But social inequality, when there is inequality or unequal opportunity in the living in the society, that invites your social policy intervention. That means it says to the government, to different agencies or civil societies, that it is your duty to look after these people because there is inequality. So therefore, social justice for fair opportunity and social legislation, when we talk about, it's about law. Policy, about program and so an action, I'm talking about it. But social legislation is for law. When policy doesn't work, then act has to come, law has to come. That is the thing. Now, let us, social has different meaning and different understanding. But I'd like to make it clear post-independence how the social was being understood by Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and B.R. Ambedkar, who were the main founding leaders, those who were providing leadership to the country after independence. So now when the constitution has to be framed, a new journey has to be made, nations had to progress ahead. At that time, you see how these people led the country, and then they gave the foundation. Mahatma Gandhi said about, no, the society has to be self-ruled. The individual has to eradicate, or they have to deal with their own problems. And then all the powers, political, economic power has to be given to the individual. Therefore, he said about Swaraj, and then village concept of village and village Swaraj. He talked about that they should be living their own way, so that way the power to the should be given to the village, and which was contradictory to that was the concept of social for Mahatma Gandhi. And then Jawaharlal Nehru said that no, it has to be the idea for national development. We will talk about not a particular village, no, but it has to be a nation state where national development should be the concept, and we all should be working for that. So how it should be done? Through the public sector industrialization. That means the state has to have its industrial industries, no, whereby the national development can be thought through. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was from the Dalit community and very backward classes, had his own way of understanding the society, and then the social understanding of his belonging to a community. He thought this was social democracy. That means everybody has got its participation in the society or in the planning process. Therefore, he told a model that is social justice model for development. So these three different concepts of social or society was being constituted during the founding moment of India, but three of them was I call it I quoted from somebody that antinomy between the homogeneous national and the heterogeneous social. That means they are contradictory to the heterogeneous, the idea of social, but they had homogeneous national idea that it has to be for the nation, and heterogeneous social means different. There are different diversities or different people, community, culture living in the society. That was their idea, that although we will be homogeneous in our national integration, national development, but there will be heterogeneous social life. That means people have their own differences. So concept of unity and diversity, that means concept of unity of national unity and diversity of social diversity, cultural diversity. That was what the things were being discussed. Now, when we talk about the character, the attributes of policy, let us understand what the policy does. Policy formulated in the context of where? When the organizational objectives are there. If the organization is government, then what the government has the objectives, accordingly the policy is formulated. Then policy in the form of explicit, it could be written or it could be maybe interpreted from behavior from top level members. So there will be policy where at the top level the policy makers body, those who explicitly declare or make declaration, write it. So policy is formulated through decision making process, through cabinet and then through different bureaucratic setup. In the government level we talk it, and when we talk in the organization, then there is a process, an idea comes, thereafter there is a meeting, and then it is done through a decision-making process. So it's policy always provides guidelines to the members of the organization, choosing a course of action, what the action they are going to take. That is what that gives a guideline. So social policy is therefore, since there is a social inequalities, there is a social problem, social issues are there, and there is a inequality in the form of having access to social, access to national resources, wealth. So there is a deliberate, therefore it's a social policy, a deliberate intervention that state is doing through government agencies to redistribute resources, because everybody is not getting the resources equally. So therefore through welfare objectives or welfare programs, the policy is being formulated so that the resources are equally distributed among the people in the country. So it's a kind of strategy. Why we call it a strategy, a discipline, a perspective? Because through this, we talk about the employment, and then through we improve the human life, and then we improve the health, education, employment, so that the people become productive and there is a national development. They are also able to contribute to the national growth and prosperity. Therefore, it's a kind of strategy. The governmental policy, mainly when we talk about social policy, it refers to your governmental policies, where it aims to meet the needs of the society. So when we talk about the needs of the society, different groups are there: women, children, disabled, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward classes, economically poor section. So different groups are there, they have different needs. So accordingly, the social policies are being formulated and the programs and schemes are implemented so that the social needs are met out. I think Pradeep, you should go. I'm proceeding. Go forward. So now let's talk about who formulates social policy. The social policy कौन formulate कर रहा है और कौन करता है? Social policy, can you go forward, Pradeep? Social policy actually collectively formulated. It is not an individual formulated social policy. It's a collectively it is formulated. Who does? The planners, administrators, voluntary organizations, academicians, politicians, and all they individually don't do, but as a group, they take the total responsibility and formulate a particular policy. Maybe health, education, employment, different things that is required as per the social need of this site of the country. The social policy, therefore we call, is the product of combined endeavors, not an individual effort or individual endeavor. It's a combined endeavor. Therefore, everybody has a contribution to the social policy. Here, the social worker comes. I'll discuss later that how you can do it. Social policy, there are two views. See, every policy is social. Why call it social policy? So in narrower view, when we say that when there is economic policies, when economic policy falls out or fails, that means it's not about to provide the justice to all the people equally, or there is no fair as far as the distribution of resources among the people in the society equally. Therefore, you are coming with social policy. If economic policy, whatever the distribution or whatever the development work is done, that is equally accessed or equally benefiting all the people, then why special provisions you would be making? Now let's see when the government schools are there and private schools are there. Why people when there is a very nice and highly sophisticated or highly standardized schools are there, then how can we call that schools are then? Why should we need the other sarkari or government run schools? So therefore, this happens when we talk about the social policy. When there is social inequality, social problems, whatever the economic policy fail, then there is a need of social policy. Broader when then we call it considers policy directive, social services, welfare services. But when we talk about broader view, and it includes your communal, different communities, ecological, international, social, developmental perspectives, all those things it includes when we talk about social policy in broader. What are the dimensions of it? When we talk about the dimensions, what David Gill said, in broader view, is social policies about what? Dimension is about reduction and eventual elimination of inequalities through redistribution. Social policy means whatever it does, the objective is to reduce and eliminate inequalities through redistribution. Means whatever the resources are there, that has to be distributed among the people so that you can eliminate the inequalities. That is the broader view of social policy. Change and social development, what P.D. Kulkarni said about it's a change and social development. Right ordering of the network of human relationship. Promotion and enhancement of quality of life. It's also about quality of life in the society and circumstances. Provisions of income and services to citizens by government to promote well-being for all. Prevention, postponement, introduction, management and change in structure. Provision of communal environment. These are all people how social utility or how the people can live together and go for a productive life, and there is inequalities in order elimination of inequality, and then there is a reduction of the living reduction of poverty, and there is improvement in the life of people having social change and social development. Then that becomes the broader view of your social policy. Now let's understand, when we talk about policy, then it comes about government. When we talk about government, there is of course politics, and when there is a politics, there is political party, and when there is political party, then there is political ideologies. And when we talk in today's political scenario in our country, that we call ourselves now is a mother of democracy or largest democracy. And then democracy, we know that our representatives are formulating policies for us. They're governing us. We are governed by ourselves. So that's we are most populous democracy. 1.5 billion people, crore people we are living in this country. This is what a major. What does political ideology do? Remember always that social policy is formulated because formulated with an ideology of the political party. When there is an India government presently, it has got its own idea or ideologies on the basis of which it formulates its policy. Before that, there was UPA government, and on the basis of their ideology, they formulated their policy. So policies are formulated on the basis of political ideologies of a political party in power. So our political ideologies, what does it describe? It describes, the ideology says that how society should work. And it provides a blueprint for certain social order. The society has to be governed by this has to live by this. This is how they define the social life and then provide a kind of blueprint for social order. So major three things we are discussing today in your social media or your different discourses. In the country, we are having three main ideologies, like left-wing ideology that speaks about egalitarianism, progressive ideals, social change. And then when we talk about right-wing ideology, that implies veneration of tradition. We have to respect the tradition, culture, nationalism. And then we talk about authority. There has to be authority in power. The man who has to rule has to have authority, look like a king. And then there has to be hierarchy, subordinates, and all those things. Status quo has to be there. They don't want to go for change. And then, of course, there is always a centricism, and you can find out which political parties are coming under which ideologies, and that would be the student social worker, your homework, and you can understand, you can go and understand about the political ideologies of the country. I tell you one thing, it's my suggestion that unless you understand political ideologies of the political parties, it will be very difficult for you to know the policy, especially social policy. All the policies, may be economic policy or social policy, are formulated on the basis of political ideologies. Wow, political ideology means it is an idea. Political idea means how you want to see the society, what kind of social order you want to establish. That is what will be defined by the people in the power. And the people in the power, those who are governing the country. And those who are governing the country, they have their own ideologies. Of course, according to the situation, they change their policy, programs, planning, so and so forth. I'm not entering into the party politics, but academically speaking, all the political parties formulate their policies on the basis of their ideologies. There is a distinct ideologies between the parties. The centricism in center, right, left, and center. The left, right, and center. Center says that it's a political outlook positioning involving acceptance or support to a balance of social equality. Balance has to maintain, and degree of social hierarchy has to be maintained. Opposing political changes, no extremism, not this side or that side, no political changes that will result in significant shift of society. So therefore, they stand in between, whichever good part of it, how the society can maintain peacefully without going to the left or right, they accept the balance of social equality. So now this was very important for us to understand political ideologies so that we can understand ideology in social policy, how it works. So when the party in politics, they look at how the choices are made, and they look at the domain of ideology. The domains of ideology. We call it social policy ideological domain. Which area they look at it, and accordingly the social policy is formulated. For example, the party is promoting individualism, freedom, liberty, fraternity, equality, subsistence, welfare, beneficiary, right, role, all this approach and elitism, social elitism, marginalism, pluralism, these are all ideologies that is there. You can also refer in different books, you will find it, that these are all the ideological domain for formulating social policy. When a social worker works in a particular group or an organization, whereby you will be dealing with different people working together for formulating a social policy. When you understand with their political ideological domain, which they are interested, whether they are interested in individualism or a social, a particular community level interest, how the freedom they look at it. They speak about the expression of freedom and expression of thought, or they speak about freedom or liberty. What is their interesting area? Or their sometimes last time we are discussing about feudalism. If the feudalic mindset organization is there, accordingly the policy will be formulated. But similarly, the conscious, if the caste prejudices are there, then with the caste prejudices, the policies will be formulated. If the if somebody is feminist, and then accordingly the social policy will be reflected in the write-up and the program and activities or schemes will be made. So these are the social policy ideological domain when one has to understand, so that we'll find out the actual policies getting oriented towards which area and how much it is going to put impact on the people. So now, Pradeep, you can go forward. Scope of social policy, if we can understand to what extent it does. So it's there are 4 welfare areas where social policies formulate. Your social security, healthcare, social care, housing, education. And the essential areas of redistributive means what you can give back to the people equally. Redistributive policy we call the taxation, public expenditure, employment, monetary policy. Through this, the benefits or resources are distributed among the people. And the other one of the scope is that further policy area potentially affecting the redistribution, like transport, legal aid, physical planning. Through this way or in this area also social policies are formulated. So now, what are the objective of social policy? Actually, it to promote welfare of the society. I said before that where there is social inequality, there is social policy. Where is failure of economic policy, there is social policy. Because always the state or people in power is interested to bring harmonious relationship between the people and remove inequality, poverty from the country. So therefore, in order to do that, to minimize the inequality in the society, or to eliminate inequality in the society, or to reduce poverty, inequality in the society, a welfare programs have to be done. And therefore, there is social policy. To safeguard the life, liberty, and property of all individuals. That is very important. That is the reason for which social policy is formulated. To guide the right ordering human relationship to achieve minimum standard of life. So that, everybody has a standard of life. Therefore, there has to be health policy. There has to be education policy so that everybody can have the access to school, education, health, basic health services, and then security, housing. These are the things for which, and the other objectives are there to give direction to the government, to ensure human rights, to respond to social problems. There are many things. Just I would like to little go forward, make a speed conclusion so that we can have more discussion. It's not more of your theory, rather it's more practical thing. So this was next Pradeep. Social policy issues, if we can talk about in our country, definitely you all will agree with me, is the unbalanced population growth. So many population. What is our policy in our country? Our country, it's not a law like China did. China is a communist country. Ours is a democracy. So what our policy is? Hum do, hamare do. That's the policy. But population, that is not a law. We cannot force somebody to make two. But through awareness, that is the difference between social policy and social legislation. If you don't obey legislation, then you are imprisoned, you are prosecuted. You have to face the law. You have to face the code of law. But whereas the policy is a direction. You have to follow it. So what's the population? And this issue again, for which we are struggling how to check the unbalanced population growth. And then we have health and nutrition. You know that all the researchers, those who are audience in this discussion, they must be having their statistics about the health status, maternal mortality, morbidity, nutrition, that all these things you can talk, human development index, all these things you can talk about here. Education, weaker section, casteism, these are all policies, illiteracy, communalism, you know, the social tension, what is happening in Manipur, illiteracy, gender inequality, you know, superstition, still the religious disputes, namaz, Hindu, Muslim, all these things are always there in the society. Corruption, you know, the corruption talk when that is again an issue when we talk about corruption. You remember that monetary, you know, what policy? This demonetization policy. That's a demonetization policy. That means all the old 1,000 rupees and 5,000 rupees declared. What do you call? No, I mean what called illegal tender. So these are the policies to check the corruption. So these are the basic sanitation of the issues where the policies of, you know, movement is going on. I have discussed later that Abhijan, Swachh Bharat Abhijan, the mission to provide sanitary India or clean India, poverty, pollution, women's safety, infrastructure. These are all issues where our social policy has to deal with. So now let us talk about social worker, how they can they have the roles. Pradeep, next. So now I would like to talk to you three stages where social worker can have its own role. When there is a policy formulation, when existing state of affairs, what is happening, what desired change you want to have, what the mechanism of change. That three levels the social worker can make intervention, making the assessment, what the desired recommendations you want to make, and then what is the mechanism, how this change could be met out. So that in the formulation level, the social worker has to be present or to be playing its role as a facilitator, as analyzer, or providing the understanding of the society and problem solving strategies. And policy implementation, when implementation, how the policy is implemented. Policies are implemented through program, schemes. We have different social schemes that I have few of them. I have just put it to next slide. So through and then this when the policy implementation, hardly our social workers professionals are going into policy formulation level. They are going into policy implementation level, maybe as a coordinator or the program manager, as a different posts are there, as a monitoring evaluation officer. Different posts are there when the policy, particular social policy is implemented through different action programs or schemes. So policy practice through research is very important area. Some are getting into this policy research, they publish articles, and then they recommend to the government so that new schemes, more impactful changes could be made in the society. And this is another stage where the social worker can have its own role. Now, when I talk about social workers' role in the policy, social policy implementation, formulation, and its research, some specific roles I have just tried to understand it, that it has to work to content, objectives, strength, limitation of current social welfare services. That's very important. A social worker, when wants to be a professional social worker to practice social work, has to know what are the social welfare services in the country. What are the social policies are prevalent in the country for individual, for family, as well as different groups, disabled groups, weaker section. The social worker has to understand and fit into that place so that it can decrease social problems. To foster formulation, analysis, development of social policy, active participation on the all level of policy. This way, social worker can get into. To inculcate appreciation of historical development, social welfare in relation to contemporary social policy, more understanding, more studying, more analyzing a social worker has to do before entering into practicing social work in the field of social policy formulation or policy implementation. So these are certain things the social worker has to understand while dealing with social policies at different levels. Now, if we can categorize next, Pradeep, I have put it more specifically to understand social work's role at micro level. At micro level, what the social worker can do to sustain, strengthen, and enhance the formulation and implementation of social policy at the grassroots level. That is the difference between social workers and other other professionals from different other fields. Here, what happened? We talk about people engaging with the people. But the definition of 2014 said that a social worker has to engage with the people in the communities in their own environment. So therefore, here the micro level role of a social worker as far as the policy formulation is concerned is very critical and very vital. So what are some of the key activities a social worker can do at this level is identify the social needs. I think we study this in the community organization. There are the, Deep can tell me, there are who said there are 13 principles of social or community organization. Whereby the first one is the principle says about identifying the needs of the society and building this content. So these are what we learn in the social work professions are to be practiced in the field of social policy formulation, implementation. When social policy is formulated, that has to be implemented. Therefore, social policy, what we understood is that it's a desired course of action. It's a plan of action. And that action plan is being implemented through different social agencies, your rural development agencies, your government departments, your family and child welfare department, your scheduled caste, scheduled tribe or social justice department. So those policies are being, those policies are formulated. Accordingly, the action plans are made or program schemes are made and implemented. So some of the activities where it's very important, it is not new for social workers, student social worker or social work practitioners. What we learned from the community organization is that identify the social needs for social policy intervention. And this activity can only be done by a social work professional much more better than any other professional. These are the differences. This is the distinguishable attributes or quality or character that a social professional social worker has. Unfortunately, we are unable to market as or communicate it. Second is analyze the various social problems, evaluate the impact of social policy on people. If this policy is being made, whether you want to open a wine shop in a village, this opening of a wine shop in the village, how far it is going to, that's the policy. Every panchayat should have a foreign liquor shop, maybe a policy. And that foreign liquor policy may be generating revenue for the state, fine. But what impact it is going to bring to the people in those gram panchayats? And it is who is going to do it? It's only the social worker will do. The other professionals will be looking at the interest of the organization. But social worker, of course, has to look at into the interest of the organization. But the first and foremost duty of a social worker is to engage with the people. That's the global definition of social. So therefore, ethics and all social workers are something different from any other professionals. So these are the things, and there are others that maybe the slide is there. Later you can discuss. I have much more to talk about social work. I should be focusing more on social policy. Macro level, what a social worker can do, it's about policy formulation and development. And development social that at the micro level, you are doing at the identifying the problems and implementing the programs, how it can go to the people without being interfered by any other person. So in the macro level, it's about formulation and development. And then here, social worker be knowledgeable person, more studies required for that. You have to study all the policies what the government is having factual information, and then understand the different political processes, political ideologies, social issues, so that you can a social worker can be participants of social policy and development. What are the key actions relating to development? Find out various alternatives. Now it is a designing part. That means you have to recommend, you have that capability to understand the problem and find out the solution. And anticipate various social worker roles like an advocate. You have to advocate for environment, for a particular community. These are the things, needs of social consequences in case of formulating social policy. So these are the things. So major attitude of social, I would like to only highlight since student social workers are there. Therefore, I'd like to put some major attitude. What should be the attitude for social workers so that they can understand the social policies, its implementation, and so on and so forth. So first is concern for social issues. When I was working in Bihar, when I went to the field for implementing a project, educational project, and when I met the people coming from a very, very backward community, that is called the Mushahar community, and I saw a girl, a little girl of 5 years, because it was winter, I remember still, because of some wound in the mouth, she was not able to eat. And that was made me restless. When I came back and of course, I had my capability to design some programs and we distributed some sanitary things. And then, that Boro Plus, when she put it and she was able to eat. So a concern for social issues. If you go to the people, it's not about, I'm not saying about sympathy. I'm talking about empathetic. You are entering into the problem and understanding it and also trying to solve. That is the attitude of a social worker. It's not about you go and you saw it and some of you might be going to the field for your field work practice. Some marks you would be getting, but whether you are touched by or you are empathetic towards the issues you are finding in the communities. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. The attitude for a social work social policy implementer or formulator or identifier has to be concern for social issues. Look at the effects of problem on people. Whatever the problem is there, how it is affecting on the people. Develop a greater appreciation or contribution of social, psychological, economic well-being of members of this society. Identify with a value orientation. Understand the society requires intervention to correct, control, deal with its functions, but your duty is to engage with them. Your duty is not, social workers' duty is not to intervene into the situation, but to engage with the people so that they accept the interventions made by different other organizations or the policy implementers. So, and the other thing is the attitude of this social worker as far as social policy implementer, formulator, and identifier is that understand the ideological dilemma in social welfare existing. Now let's see rapidly concept you talk about, and then appeasement policy. There is a talk in the political arena or political discourses, or free services in the distributing free everything. Look at this. That what society requires. And this is the ideological dilemma that a social worker always will face, whether in right, left, or center. Always I told my students that a social worker has to be a politician. For me, it's a solid social politician. A politics that is to bring benefits to the people, that to remove social inequality in the society. And I'm not talking about a party politics, but it is about a welfare politics. So therefore, understanding political ideologies and then that's very important. Also, that's critical. Look at perspective of human rights, awareness. These are all attitude a social worker should have, so that can be policy formulated. But if you are stuck there, I'm already going faster a little bit. So therefore, now let us see in this government, what are some of the programs, the social policies they have formulated. Next, Pradeep. These are the things popularly always it comes to your WhatsApp or our Sarkar, our government is making. See the policy for the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, from Jan Dhan Jan Suraksha. There are, I think, plenty. 100. I could not list it out. Around 50 or 70. I thought I got it in the internet. There are policies. There are programs and schemes are there. And these are, I told you, policy formulated, programs implemented. Based on the policy, Jan Dhan Yojana means the welfare economic development of the weaker sections. So through this, there certain activities are there, and people are being provided with some benefits by which they can develop. These are, and Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti, that is electrification, Suraksha, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima. These are all insurance, pension yojana, Atal pension yojana, the social security program, and then your Pradhan Mantri Mudra, that money is given and for the self making some startup India, probably these are all. Stand Up India scheme, and then Pradhan Mantri Vaya Vandana Yojana, Agnipath, this youth is employed, that Hugh Cry was there on this scheme. Hello India, this is national sports empowerment, that is the policy and programs they are doing that. Ujjwala, the gas cylinders being distributed. Now the social worker has to find out what is the impact of it. Some of the practitioners may be doing that. Some of the practitioners maybe have been employed in these different schemes and programs implemented in the country. So now, what is the how it is going to benefit, how it is going to, what is the changes could be made, that where the social worker can understand. Otherwise, it is only the figure. How many got the job, how many did not get the job. This is the way the management is done. But as a social worker will truly find out the impact of it, analyze truly that how far it has brought the change. That is what the definition, again I'm saying, social work profession promotes change. It's a practice profession. And when we talk about any benefit from the social policy and social policy implementation, the standard criteria is to understand whether that particular scheme, or the policy programs, schemes, programs, or the policy decisions benefited or brought, might be benefited, but has it brought any change in the people's life? That this change area has to be always looked at by the social worker professionals. So these are some of the things I told, and I don't want to discuss. Next one is your national health policy. Just I wanted to discuss only one health policy I wanted to discuss very quickly. I'll go. This is about your 1983. They've called it for now the policy statement, how it is written. Health for all by year 2080. Whether it is provided accordingly, 2002 national policy was implemented and formulated, and now we are talking about National Health Policy 2017. 2017 health policy, what does it say? It talks about changing health priorities. Next, Pradeep 2. This talks about changing health priorities. So here the policy aims to tackle the increasing non-communicable disease. These are the policy statements are made like this. Accordingly, according to these policies, implement programs are being formulated, and through PSC, to public private partnerships, or from private hospitals, through this, all these things are programs are implemented. Lower the expenditure will be there, economic growth will be there. 2017, very important thing is that they are making it sectoral approach. That means health should not be looked at independently, but whatever the intervention or whatever the programs, schemes will be implemented, that has to contribute to the other aspect. They like their enhancement in their life expectancy, their enhancement in the economic growth, and the other sectors like education, employment, all these things has to be benefited from the health policy. That means it is not only the health intervention, but it is sectoral intervention, means it should be contributing to other aspects of citizens of this country. So now, wow, it's a very big topic, Pradeep. So very quickly, 2 topics you gave to me. I did not know that I am taking so much of time. It's a social legislation. Just very quickly, I'll put it. I told you social legislation is about law. When social policy or any decision or any art or any institution or authority of the country is unable to control the behavior of the individuals, then accordingly social policy is legislation is formulated. For example, families, you say Domestic Violence Act. Domestic Violence Act, what happens when women were facing violence in the physical, mental, psychological, in the family, it was not being stopped through awareness, this and that. Therefore, Domestic Violation Act was formulated. Now, if somebody commits that violence against women in the family, domestic, that is domestic house, in the house, then the woman has the right to, or the victim has right to go to the court of law to get justice. So this is basically social legislation is about how to protect, how to protect the weaker section of the society through law. It could be criminal, it could be civil, but it is the basic idea of social legislation is the laws to formulate or to enactment of laws which will protect the weaker section of the society. Now, when we talk about, there are so many laws for women. I talked about Dowry Prohibition Act is there, Immoral Traffic Prevention Act is there, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act is there. The Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment Act is there, Juvenile Justice for Children is there, Atrocities Against STSC Act. These are all social welfare provisions or social welfare social legislations or acts which protect the weaker section of the society. So now, in the role of social workers in legal assistance in the social legislation means it's about providing legal assistance to the needy, the victim. I have a lot of experience how the people face in the court of law when they come to fight for justice. So the Indian Constitution is promising that equal protection of law to all the citizens. Learn the legislation. Social worker what has to do is first professional has to know what are the social legislation prevalent, and he should not be going to the court of law, but coordinate with the law professional or the advocate and can provide this assistance to the people in need. That is the work a social worker can do. And there are legal aid assistance also there. So organize legal literacy program. For example, what is human rights? What is Domestic Violence Act? What is Poverty MGNRA Act? Right to Information Act? What are the education policies? And according to right to education, what are the law? How they can file a complaint in the police? How can they write an FIR before the for a case to file an FIR in the police station? If police doesn't accept receive a police FIR, what he can do? What is the procedure to do? How can the police? How can he go to the police and speak about his case? These are all the things, legal literacy, basic things to be given to the people, and social worker can do it. Other judicial activism, public interest litigation, through this also social workers have more role to play. I don't want to go into it. And then there is a promotion of social jurisprudence. It's very important that judges have enormous power in the Supreme Court, and then High Court. They go beyond the existing system. And then striking down of Section 377, this LGBT communities or same gender sexual practices were criminalized, and it was life imprisonment, even more than 10 years imprisonment. That has been now decriminalized. So that is the striking down of Section 370 of Indian Penal Code in 2018. How they did it, and how they did. Probably social workers, social work practitioners, those who are working for the LGBT communities, they made a movement and then put up their pressure. They put pressure on the government and then society. And then this is what it happened. Triple talaq, which is again the Supreme Court 3-2 judges bench, majority 3, they said that triple talaq was sinful practice. So this is what the progressive laws, whereby in the social legislation, social worker can contribute. In the migration time, the COVID-19, how the people are working during that time, your state of Madras versus Champak, Dorai Rajan, how the Supreme Court formulated certain guidelines. The people have to be met with their basic needs. It's their human rights. The Supreme Court said it is not directive. The state, it's not state directives. It is part of their fundamental rights. So there has to be balance between this. These are all things in the social field where social worker can contribute. Social work practitioners can have their share and mobilize and bring or engage, promote social change and empower people and liberate humanity or liberate people, work for liberation of people. finally, my conclusion is that what I'd like to tell you is that it's about social policy. What I understood is about achieving social needs by government interventions through schemes, programs, and legislations. Social needs, government, of course, there is non-governmental organizations. I'm not talking about them, but major is the duty of this state as per the DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policies. The duty of the state to formulate policies for to protect the weaker section of the society, to eliminate inequality in the society. So social needs have to be met out by the government interventions, the schemes, programs, course legislation. When schemes, programs do not work, there has to be legislation. So social legislation therefore is being enacted by the legislature, state level or assemblies, and then central level or parliament to protect the weaker section basically. And social worker has to play a role, a critical role as a critical analyzer, thinker, not a program manager. I hate that. Social worker is not a program manager, he's a leader. Is a critical analyzer, thinker. Program manager means the program is only one activity or one assignment of his larger role to play in the society. Please keep in your mind, social work is a noble profession. It's a profession. It has got its own idea. It has got its own ethics, philosophy. If you want to be a true social work practitioner, it's not always job seeking. It's not job seeking profession. You are part of a job with a larger, of course, income is required, but ultimate objective is not a job. Ultimate objective of a professional social worker is to promote social change. Engage with the people in the particular environment. That is what my understanding about the social work profession. A conscientizer, conscientizer, bring consciousness, conscientize people, aware people that this is what is your right is all about. Your human rights, your basic rights, your civil rights, your social rights, your political rights, your economic rights. A social worker has to play as a researcher, as advocate, activist, as a mobilizer, facilitator. My God, so many roles and responsibilities are there for the social workers in the field of social policy formulation, implementation, and providing legal assistance to the people in need. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you, Dr. Pradeep, for this opportunity, and excuse me that I took so much of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Of course, we know actually the topic was little lengthy, but still you could not cover the entire things within the given time. I think you did not take so much time. It is only 1 hour or 10 minutes or something. So thank you so much for your presentation. Again, I can connect the classroom through your presentation. Two questions are asked by sir. One question by Aishwarya. She asked, sir, you used the term social elitism. Can you explain it a little more?
Elitism is those who think they know everything. They speak a language. Elitist, a particular class of society, we call them. In their living, in their understanding, those who are very much interested about the development issues than what is practically happening in the society. They don't mind whether people are able to eat or people are able to have sufficient, people are able to have their housing, basic, safe drinking water. They don't mind about it. They talk about development. They talk about how the nation is to be identified in the world as a superpower. These are the concepts those people are having. I connect with the social policy formulation. When they have this ideology, this idea in their mind that let us forget about what is happening in the country. Now, I'm critical of this government. So some of the policies of this government, of course, Now, when Mr. Trump came, social elitist ideology or thinking, what they said, let us hide all the slums on the road to, in Gujarat, on the road to that public function was being organized. That means you hide certain things because you feel that that is not bothering you, or you are not part of that. That is not the reality. The reality is you want to show that you are in a class of society. So therefore, the elitist mentality, or those who want to see only the one side of the, what you call the developed side of something, but forgetting about the other side of things, that ideology I was talking about when you formulating policy. And when the person is having social elitist mindset, definitely the formulation policy will be formulated accordingly. I think this is what I understand about.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope Aishwarya you got your answer. Another question asked by Hruday Vallabha. Uniform civil code. As a social worker, should you support or protest it?
See, more for me, I'm very much clear and transparent. I mean, very vocal on this, that this is not the time. I have a question with, I have a problem with the timing of coming of this uniform civil code bill. Number one. Number two, I'm not in favor of it, because you cannot bring uniformity to a law or a social legislation. Now there was a debate, I was part of that. In South India, uncles get married to their cousin or something. There is a kind of relationship. There is a marriage relationship is there in some mamu or bhaniji type of. There is a relationship. I mean, uncle and then niece. There is a relationship where they can have the marriage. So each state, they have their own personal laws, and it comes to the religion. It comes to their cultural practices. So there should not be a family law that will be uniformly applicable to all the countries of 1.5 crore people, and having so many dialects, so many religion, and so many practices, and so many family issues. So therefore, in order to bring more unanimous to this, it should not be a political issue, because the government, for my understanding, is making a political issue. It should have been brought before 5 years, and extensive discussion could have been done, and accordingly. And now, see, these are if as a law, I am saying this is not going to benefit to the people in the country. An equal, unanimously or uniformly applicable of this law is not possible in this diverse country like India. And as far as it's the bill is bringing before the parliament is concerned, the timing and its intention behind it is suspicious.
Thank you, sir. Today, probably you got your answer. Chandramolika has a question. You can directly unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Pradeep. Hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are audible.
Thank you, sir. I will reverberate what Pradeep said. We actually time traveled back to our days in the school, just that it was not a physical class. Thank you so much for that. So I will quickly ask my question. While going through the session and also listening to you and connecting it with the years of social work practice, this question actually came to my mind. If in this era of specialization, is social work practitioner and his or her role in the social policy is limited to understanding the society only, like in the larger frame where social work practitioners fit in the larger frame of social policies?
Yeah, Chandramolika, it was actually very difficult when we don't physically interact, and then you have to look at somewhere and go and speaking. That I missed. I also was remembering about the classroom situation, how beautiful. But thanks to this technology, virtual mode, which at least we are able to engage with so many participants or audience of Gyanalok Trust. See, this social work has to change. It's not confined to the society or social issues. Specializations are there. But when you change, the core should not be changing. You cannot be, let's say, you cannot be a program manager, you cannot be a program evaluator, you cannot be a monitor, coordinator. When you implement a program, part of course, as you know, social work is practiced through agencies, through its program, policies, implementation, schemes, all these things. Same thing. What social policies government is doing, social agencies do. So now specialization is good at a point in time when you are good at, let's say, women empowerment. You are very good at working with the women. So you want to make human sector of the society, section of the society, women. You want to specialize yourself understanding about the policy, about their problems, about their psychosocial behavior, so many things. And then I'm very much interested to see the social worker at the leadership level. Let the manager from any other program and all can be a program implementer, proposal writer and all these things, but at the direction level, where even if you're in the program level, even if you are writing this, but your direction, your strategy relating to the women. Similarly, some people are interested in psychiatric social work. They want to deal with mental health, and that is a specialization. And what happens, psychiatric social work has got its own MA degree, master degree. It has got its MPhil degree, and it has got its own, PhD also is there, I think. So therefore, the mental health, those who are interested, they can go to that. But social worker, always remember, may it be any specialized field, may it be labor welfare, correctional social work, community development, your psychiatric social work, any specialization or development of weaker section, Dalit social work, tribal social work, whatever you talk these days. But remember always that global definition of social work. What is your work? Whether your action in that specialization promote change, does it liberate the people with whom we are working? Does it empower them? All these basics, values, I mean the understanding, strategy, ethics, philosophy, principles, methods of social work should be practiced, even if you are any fields of, any specialized field of social work. Same thing could be done like medical profession. Medicine doctors, what they do, they have a common understanding about medicine, but there is a cardiologist, there is eye specialist, different gerontologists, endocrinologists, so many specializations have come, and then they deal with all those things. I am looking social work profession in that direction. I want to see that, but doctor means people what they understand. The doctor means he cures disease. My understanding social work has to be worker or any field for that matter. Social worker means it has to be understood that he or she can solve problems. Like doctor can cure disease, social worker can solve problems. This identity should be there even if you are any fields of studies, profession or any specialization. Only guy you can share from your part. This is what I understood. Of course, 10 years I'm not there in the social work profession. Of course, helping. I'm practicing also in the court, helping out. Yeah, thank you.
So that was a genuine question thinking to understand social workers' place in social policy. And thank you so much. I think I have nothing to say on that. It's your domain.
Another question by Aishwarya. Aishwarya, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself. After that, you can ask your question.
Thank you, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am, audible.
Please introduce.
Okay. This is Aishwarya, a PhD research scholar from Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar. I have a query to sir. May I ask?
Yeah, you can.
Sir, you said some people think that social policy is a failure of economic policy. Can you explain it with current example, any current example or current event? Thank you.
What I mean by that is, and why I want to buy that argument is that when It's about distribution of resources. When it is equally distributed among the people, then we don't require social policy. When we talk about national development, and then we make the programs for all, and that programs, when it doesn't work, then we go for social policy. And social policy is specially meant for a particular group of people, a community of people, or what we call the weaker section of the society. It's a welfare provisions where by the argument that the policies formulated by the government is not benefiting everybody equally. Therefore, a special attention is required for those weaker sections for which a social policy is a need. Therefore, social policy is coming into being.
Thank you, sir.
Another question asked by Pragya Mishra. Sir, what are the factors influencing social policy?
When factors, when we call that is formulating of social policy or policy implementation, it's not about factors of social policy, it could be, but it could be what are the factors responsible for social policy. Then I could say that the need of the society, where which people, what they want, why they are not able to get that benefit, and especially the ideological factor that government is planning to meet the needs of the society, and the needs of society has to be decided by who, which group of people, for whom, which area. The regionalism is coming, the community of people, and then the ideological factors of the government and the political parties, and need of the people especially, which will decide that what the policy will be formulated. Now, education policy you talk about now, what is the need? It has become a skill-based. So what is the need? The youth, the need, unemployment. These social issues are the major factors to formulate social policy, I would say, backed by your political ideology. Let us confine to this much for now.
Thank you, sir. I hope Pragya also got her answer. I request other participants, if they have any doubt or any question, put their self and ask the question, whatever they have.
Good evening, sir. Simanchalla, sir, very nice session. And I am a very weak student in legislation. And
Wow.
so for me, it is like a revision class. And sir, my question is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan a policy?
It's a vision, it's a movement.
It's a movement. Okay, sir.
Yeah. But the policy is Clean India. I mean, sanitation and all. And then
Right.
vision, so it is, you know, what I said, social policy has to be implemented through certain course of action. This Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is an action, it's a movement. Abhiyan means, of course, it's a movement. It's a mission.
Yes, sir.
So, social policy formulated based on social issues. But Pragya madam was asking about the factors responsible for by that. I didn't deal with specifically what are the factors, but by and large I talked about it. And then thereafter, programs are formulated, schemes are made up. Based on, for example, everybody there has to be basic income for all. So accordingly, the action plan will be made. So implementation time, when we talk about India has to be clean, is a policy. I mean, Swachh has to be there everywhere. In the rural, sanitation has to be promoted. So Abhiyan is made, and Abhiyan becomes one of the implementation action plan of social policy of rural sanitation. Yeah.
And when implementation is done, obviously there are involvement of people and sources.
Yes,
You-
two different departments now. I think social cess has been taken. Tax also
Yes.
is coming. You have to pay the money. These are all. I'm not going detail into all those things. You are teaching social legislation. The cost benefit of social legislation, who is getting benefit, all those things are also still there. Yeah, but rural this impact, somebody you can encourage that how the Abhijan has made impact. I think 2014 it was launched.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Josna, for your question. I request other participants, if they have any questions, kindly unmute and ask. I think there is no other question. Now I request Maulika to extend the vote of thanks to the meeting. Over to you.
Thanks, Pradeep. So I take this opportunity to thank Simanchal sir for giving his precious time and sharing his knowledge and experiences with us on social legislation and role of social worker in social policy. I would also like to thank all the participants who have participated in this, who have been with us throughout this lecture series. Thank you for participating and thanks all for joining us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
so
Pradeep.
much, sir. Thank you so much. I can understand your busy schedule, but still